Okay, good morning. I didn't want to make another video about this racial problem in Canada, but I just have to go out there and do it. Now, I put up a video called "Why 7 a.m. Matters," and apparently Daily Motion found a problem with it. I don't know whether it was the message or it was a copyrighted video. I would say the latter. I was a little disappointed with that because I would think that there were black people around the world, particularly in France and in Europe, would be able to watch this film and get some sort of message about black empowerment within the Europe. Because these blacks in Europe, they're going through a lot of shit as well, especially in the UK. Black Brits are arrested more likely, often, and they're getting put in prison, and they're often facing a lot of racism and white supremacy in the job market too. And I was going to say this too. Racial profiling not only occurs on a societal level, like in the streets, it also occurs on the job too, where you're just working under the thumb of white people and you're working with the dominant culture of whites. You're the only black person in there. So that's got to tell you something right there. I was a little disappointed they rejected the video, but I don't know. Daily Motion, I guess the Europeans and the French head office feel threatened. Either that or it was a copyrighted video. But I played the video and I saw the video on other people's channels on YouTube. So I don't know why it was a threat to them. So I just thought I'd get that out. But I also did a little bit of research on Canada and its hidden messages and its secrets. And I want to respond to this article I've read. Why Why I Hate Being Black. It was written by a black Canadian who tried to get the media, Canadian news media, to publish it, but apparently they didn't want to because they want to keep up this so-called image of how Canada is so great and how equal Canada is and how tolerant Canadians are. Which I don't think is true, but that's what they say anyways. But anyways, I read the article, and it, and this guy wrote a whole lot of stuff that's pretty much true about this country, about the racial discrimination and the white supremacist attitudes of most Canadians. And he said this best: Canada is a Eurocentric country, along with the United States. And I agree with that. White supremacy rules here in the great white north of Canada. But people just kind of hide that fact. White supremacy is here too. But often, in the history books, I saw a lot of black people in the Underground Railroads from the US trying to run up to Canada. And then they saw what Canada was really all about and they ran back to the US. And most of them went to Sierra Leone and Liberia. The ex-slaves went to Liberia and Sierra Leone. So it's like, it's not all peaches and cream up here in Canada for the black man. That's for sure. And that's a fact. Anyways, I'll go on with this article. He wrote some stuff about it. He tried to get published by the Canadian news outlets, but they wouldn't publish it. So he decides to send it to the UK, like say to the Guardian newspaper in the UK. And that sparked a whole lot of debate in the UK. And then it forwarded and it went viral back to the US. Well, African Americans. So, and it went viral, it seems. I don't understand. This is a country of multiculturalism. Why wouldn't they want to publish an article like that? by this writer. It's baffling to me. Multiculturalism, is it like a real concept, or is it just some sort of facade that the Canadian government made up in order to keep more immigrants coming to this country? Is it like a facade or some sort of fabricated ideology that Canada has made up for people to get people to come here and start their lives? But because most of the times when they come here, the immigrants are often used for slave labor, working in jobs for very cheap wages and for very cheap cheap prices or cheap wages, or put in cheap labor of some sort. I don't know. It's just, is it like really? Does it really exist? Multiculturalism. They say it celebrates diversity. Diversity for whom or for what? I don't see any diversity here. I mean, the society itself, dominant society, still keeps us locked up. And I also did a little bit of investigating for Canada too, about their prison population. And the prison in Ontario, the highest population are Blacks and First Nations people. They make up the highest prison population in Canada. Maybe not just in Ontario, but maybe throughout all of Canada. And yet, Natives and Black people have been in this country for centuries. And yet, we're still not in the Canadian mindset, or in a Canadian mosaic, as they call it. I don't know what the fuck they call it. But yeah, it's pretty discouraging looking at these stats and numbers. Very discouraging, I would say. Now, as much as I don't like to put down Canada, it's a peaceful country. I'm not going to take that away. But most Canadians, I would say, they have to look at issues. They have to delve into these issues on a deep level, and basically find out the truth about history. But most Canadians, I'm not going to lie, they're ignorant about history. They only want to remember the good things about Canadian history. There are a lot of bad things too. But knowing Canadians, we like to pick on the United States and their history, how bad their history was against colored people. But there's a lot of inconsistencies and a lot of dirty little secrets in this country too, when it comes to race relations, since most of us, we don't like to talk about race a whole lot. But at some point, we have to come to terms with that. We have to talk about these issues. And this article I've read is an example of that. So, and there's a lot of other things I like to talk about, which I'll discuss in a future video. But I have to cut this video short now.